The attic smelled like dust and forgotten promises, the kind that cling to yellowed paper and splintered wood. Christian Hayes slammed the old trunk shut, his heart pounding like a freight train off the rails. But it was too late. The birth certificate stared back at him from the floor, its ink faded but unyielding. Nathaniel Elias Hayes, born October 15, 1997, Chicago Memorial Hospital. His birthday, his last name, but not his name. Why the hell would they lie about this? He whispered to the empty rafters, voice cracking like thunder in the stale air. His mother's face flashed in his mind, smiling at family barbecues, always quick with a hug, but now it twisted into something haunted, something she'd buried deeper than this goddamn box. He grabbed his phone, fingers trembling as he dialed her number, the ringtone echoing like a death knell. When she answered, her voice was honey-sweet as always. "Christian, honey, everything okay?" But he knew, in that split-second pause before she spoke, that the house of cards was tumbling. Christian hung up the phone mid-sentence, her protests fading into static as he bolted down the creaking stairs of his grandmother's old brownstone on the north side of Chicago. The wind off Lake Michigan howled through the cracked windows, carrying the faint scent of autumn leaves and exhaust from the L train rattling by. At 28, he'd come back to this place after Nana's funeral last week, sorting through her things like some reluctant archaeologist digging up bones he never wanted to claim. But now he couldn't breathe. The certificate burned a hole in his jeans pocket, a secret heavier than the box of faded Polaroids he'd found alongside it. Photos of a baby that looked eerily like him, swaddled in blankets, cradled by hands that weren't his mother's. He needed air, needed a drink, needed something to drown the roar in his head. The corner bar on Clark Street, O'Malley's, was a dive in the best American way. Neon signs flickering over scarred oak counters, jukebox crooning Springsteen like it could fix a fractured soul. Christian slid onto a stool, signaling the bartender with a nod that said keep him coming. Bourbon neat. The first shot hit like fire, chasing the chill from his bones, but it didn't touch the ice in his gut. "You look like you just found out Santa's a myth," a voice drawled from the end of the bar, low and warm, laced with that Midwestern drawl that made Chicago feel less like a cage. Christian glanced up, and there he was, Jonathan, or at least that's what the embroidered name on his flannel shirt said. Mid-30s, maybe, with salt and pepper stubble framing a jaw that could cut glass, and hazel eyes that sparkled with the kind of mischief that promised trouble or salvation. He was nursing a whiskey sour, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms dusted with ink, tattoos peeking like whispers of stories untold. Christian forced a laugh, bitter as the burn in his throat. Worse, found out my whole life's a goddamn forgery. He shouldn't have said it. Strangers weren't confidants, but the words spilled out anyway, the certificate slapping onto the bar top like a gauntlet thrown. Jonathan's brow arched, but he didn't flinch. Instead, he slid over, close enough that Christian caught the faint scent of cedar cologne and rain-dampened wool. "Jonathan Reeves," he said, extending a hand that engulfed Christian's in a grip firm but not crushing. "Private investigator. Specialize in the family skeletons that rattle louder than most." His smile was crooked, disarming, the kind that made you want to spill more than you should. Christian introduced himself, the name feeling foreign on his tongue now, like trying on someone else's skin. They talked, or rather, Christian unloaded. Grew up in the suburbs of Evanston, only child to Martha and Richard Hayes, the picture of WASP perfection. Dad a mid-level exec at a Loop insurance firm. Mom the PDA queen with her Jell-O salads and church potlucks. No drama. No secrets. Just the steady hum of American normalcy. Until Nana died and left him the house and this bomb. Jonathan listened without interrupting, his eyes never leaving Christian's face, tracing the lines of exhaustion and confusion like he was memorizing a map. By the third round, the bar had emptied to a handful of regulars nursing their regrets, and Jonathan's knee brushed Christian's under the counter. Accidental, maybe, but neither pulled away. "Look," Jonathan said, voice dropping to that intimate timbre that sent a shiver down Christian's spine. "Families like yours? They don't hide shit unless it's dynamite. Let me help. Off the books." Consider it my good deed for the night. Christian met his gaze, those hazel depths pulling him in like the undertow of the lake. He was no stranger to attraction. Chicago's gay scene was vibrant, from Boys Town bars to pride parades that painted the city in rainbows. But this felt different. Like Jonathan saw the fractures and didn't look away. Why? Christian asked, the word hanging between them, heavy with the vulnerability he hated showing. Jonathan leaned in, breath warm against Christian's ear. Because I've got my own ghosts. And yours? They look a lot like mine. His hand lingered on Christian's arm, a touch that lingered like a promise, igniting sparks Christian hadn't felt since his last heartbreak 2 years back. That night, they stumbled out into the drizzle, shoulders bumping as they walked the empty streets, the city lights blurring into halos. Jonathan's apartment was a third-floor walk-up in Wicker Park, all exposed brick and bookshelves groaning under legal tomes and dog-eared paperbacks. Coffee turned to conversation, turned to shared silences where eyes said what words couldn't. It started with a brush of fingers over a shared mug, then Jonathan's thumb tracing the vein on Christian's wrist. "Tell me to stop," he murmured. But Christian didn't. Their kiss was slow at first, tentative, like testing storm clouds, then fierce. Hands fisting in shirts, bodies pressing close in the dim glow of a single lamp. Jonathan tasted like whiskey and want, his stubble scraping Christian's jaw as they tumbled onto the couch, a tangle of limbs and whispered confessions. For the first time that night, the secret in Christian's pocket felt distant, drowned out by the rhythm of heartbeats sinking in the dark. Morning came with sunlight slanting through blinds, coffee brewing, and a plan. Jonathan pored over the certificate with the precision of a surgeon, his glasses perched on the bridge of his nose, making him look boyish and fierce all at once. Same hospital, same doc. Dr. Elias? Ironic as hell. But the parents listed? Richard and Martha Hayes. That's you, but not. He tapped the paper, frustration etching lines around his mouth. We need records. Birth, adoption. Hell, maybe a sealed court file. Christian watched him, mesmerized by the way passion lit Jonathan's features, turning investigation into intimacy. And if it's nothing, just a clerical fuck-up. Jonathan's hand found his across the table, squeezing. Then we celebrate with pancakes. But my gut says it's everything. They spent the day chasing leads, calls to the hospital, stonewalled, a trip to the Cook County clerk's office where bureaucracy felt like wrestling fog. By evening, frustration boiled over into laughter, then into bed, where Jonathan's touch mapped Christian's body like uncharted territory, each kiss a vow against the unknown. Weeks blurred into a rhythm. Mornings tangled in sheets, afternoons digging through microfiche at the Harold Washington Library, nights where Jonathan's stories, of his own closeted youth in rural Indiana, coming out at 20 and losing half his family, wove them tighter. Christian opened up too, about the ache of being gay in a house that loved him but never quite saw him, the hookups that left him hollow, the dream of something real amid Chicago's relentless grind. Then, the first crack, a yellowed letter tucked in Nana's Bible, postmarked 1997. Dear Martha, we've done what we must. The boy is safe with you now. Call him Christian. Let Nathaniel fade. For the family's sake. Love, Elias. Dr. Elias. Christian's stomach dropped. Who the fuck is Elias? He breathed, Jonathan's arm around his shoulders a lifeline. Your grandfather? Jonathan guessed, but his voice held doubt. They traced it to her obituary. Elias Hayes, died 2005, devoted family man. But whispers in old church records hinted otherwise, a discreet arrangement for the prodigal son. Prodigal. The word stuck like a thorn. As autumn deepened, leaves carpeting the sidewalks in gold and crimson, their bond deepened too. Walks along the lakefront, hands brushing in the chill wind. Stolen moments in Jonathan's kitchen, flour-dusted counters bearing witness to lazy Sundays. Love crept in unannounced, fierce and fragile, the kind that makes you believe in second chances. But the secrets loomed, shadows lengthening with each dead end. One night, after a fruitless stakeout at the old family home in Evanston, lights on, But Martha's car gone. Christian broke. Curled against Jonathan on the fire escape. City hum below them. He whispered, "What if I'm not who I think? What if they hid me because I'm wrong?" Jonathan pulled him close, lips brushing his temple. "You're not wrong. You're mine." The words hung, an anchor in the storm. But deep down, Christian knew the tempest was just brewing. The email arrived at 3:17 a.m., a ping that shattered the fragile peace of Jonathan's bedroom. Christian jolted awake, heart slamming against ribs, the glow of his phone casting eerie blue shadows across the rumpled sheets. Subject: Nathaniel Hayes, unsealed file access. From a contact at the Illinois Department of Public Health. Greased by Jonathan's old law school buddy and a not insubstantial donation to the right clerk. He nudged Jonathan, who groaned and rubbed sleep from his eyes, stubble darker in the half-light. "Read it," Christian urged, voice a rasp. Jonathan sat up, glasses askew, and scanned the attachment. A scanned PDF, dense with legalese and redacted lines. But the unredacted parts? They gutted him like a fish on the docks. Birth: Nathaniel Elias Hayes. October 15, 1997. Mother: unknown, sealed. Father: Elias James Hayes, deceased. Elias, the name from the letter, grandfather, confirmed. But the mother? A surrogate clause, buried in adoption papers dated 3 months later. Child relinquished voluntarily by paternal guardian to Richard and Martha Hayes. Renamed Christian Richard Hayes. Sealing order granted to protect minor from public scrutiny due to familial circumstances. Familial circumstances, Jonathan echoed, brow furrowed. That's code for scandal. In 97? Could be anything, affair, bankruptcy. But why seal it like Fort Knox? Christian's mind raced, pieces slotting like a jigsaw from hell. Nana's trunk, the photos, the letter let Nathaniel fade. He was Nathaniel, hidden not just in name but in existence. His family hadn't lost a son. They'd erased one. Him. "Call Mom," he said. But Jonathan shook his head. "Not yet. We need more. Let's hit the library at dawn, genealogy section. See if Elias left a trail." Dawn found them in the cavernous reading room, surrounded by retirees and history buffs, the air thick with the must of old newsprint. Hours sifting through microfilm. Elias Hayes, born 1952, a doctor like his obit said, but whispers in society pages painted a different picture. Engaged to Margaret, Nana, in 74, but rumors of bohemian leanings delayed the wedding. Bohemian. In code, that meant gay back when Stonewall was still fresh scar tissue on America's psyche. Jonathan's fingers flew over the keyboard, pulling archived articles from the Trib. A 1980s piece on AIDS crisis fundraisers. Elias front and center. Bachelor philanthropist. No wife mentioned until Nana, late in life. Then, a sealed court filing from 1996. Petition for surrogacy arrangement. Hayes versus State. Holy shit, Jonathan breathed. Elias sued for the right to use a surrogate. Alone. Christian's world tilted. Alone? As in, he was gay. And he had me. The pieces crashed together. Grandpa Elias, closeted in a world that crucified difference, fighting in shadows for a son he couldn't openly claim. Born via surrogate because love for a man, unnamed in records, wasn't enough to build a family on paper. Then, the handover to Richard and Martha, Elias's brother and sister-in-law, to shield the boy from scandal. Renamed, reborn in secrecy, so Nathaniel could vanish, and Christian could emerge, straight-laced, untainted. Tears pricked Christian's eyes, hot and unbidden. They hid me because I was his, proof of something they couldn't face. Jonathan's hand covered his, steady as bedrock. Not hid, protected, in their fucked-up way. That afternoon, they drove to Evanston, the suburbs unfolding like a Norman Rockwell lie. Manicured lawns, minivans in driveways. Martha's house loomed colonial and pristine, but the curtains twitched when they pulled up. She answered the door in pearls and a cardigan, smile faltering at the folder in Christian's hand. "Honey? What's wrong?" Inside, over chamomile tea that tasted like ash, the truth spilled, or shards of it. Elias, Christian said, voice steel. He was my father, not dad. And you took me, erased him. Martha's cup clattered to the saucer, color draining from her face. Oh God, how? She crumpled, sobs racking her frame, and Richard appeared from the study, face ashen. Son, it's not what you think, but it was. They confessed in fits and starts. Elias, dying of AIDS in '96, desperate for legacy. The surrogate, a friend from his clinic. The birth, hushed. Then, after Elias's death, the adoption to keep Nathaniel Christian. Safe from prying eyes, from the Hayes name's tarnish. Your father, Elias, he loved you more than air, Martha whispered. We did it for him, for you. Richard's eyes glistened, hand on her shoulder. We couldn't let the world chew you up like it did him. Christian reeled, betrayal a knife twist. Loved him? They'd stolen his grief, his roots. You let me mourn a ghost. Called him grandpa when he was dad. He stormed out, Jonathan trailing, the slam of the door echoing like finality. The drive back was silent fury, Chicago's skyline mocking with its unyielding gleam. Jonathan pulled over on Lakeshore Drive, the lake churning gray under November clouds. Talk to me, he urged, turning Christian's face to his. Their kiss was salt-slick, desperate, a dam breaking. In the back seat of the rental, fogged windows shielding them from the world, they reclaimed each other. Bodies arching, gasps mingling with the lap of waves outside. Jonathan's hands were reverent, tracing scars unseen, whispering, You're enough, you're whole. But wholeness felt like a lie. Days bled into doubt. Christian threw himself into work. Freelance graphic design from a coffee shop in Logan Square. But sketches turned abstract, fractured lines mirroring his soul. Jonathan balanced him, cooking meatloaf from his mom's recipe. The straight one? He joked, dragging him to drag shows at Hydrate where glitter drowned sorrow. Love bloomed in quiet moments. Jonathan's head on Christian's chest during binge watches of Queer as Folk. Debates over Obama-era marriage equality clippings that hit too close. Yet the wound festered. A call from Richard. Come for Thanksgiving. Please. Christian hung up, then called back, Jonathan's voice in his ear like armor. They went, the turkey dry, the tension thicker than gravy. Around the table, with aunts and cousins oblivious, Richard pulled him aside. Elias left you something. In the safe deposit box. He cold metal. And a letter, Elias's script shaky. My son, Nathaniel, Christian now, I hear. If you're reading this, forgive the shadows. I built you in love, the kind that defies names. Live loud. For both of us. Tears fell hot on the page. Forgiveness? Not yet. But understanding cracked the door. Winter gripped the city. Snow blanketing streets in hush. Christian and Jonathan's first holiday together. A tree in the corner of the walk-up, strung with light stolen from a bodega lot. Making love by firelight from the radiator's glow. Jonathan's body a harbor. Marry me, Jonathan murmured post-climax. Half joking, half hopeful. Christian laughed, pulling him closer. Ask me when the world's not imploding. But the implosion waited. Package arrived unmarked. Photos, more than the trunks. Elias with a man. Tall, dark-haired. Laughing on a beach in Provincetown, 95. The lover unnamed. And a clinic file. Surrogacy contract. Signed by both. Partner, David Lang. David. Alive? Jonathan's PI skills unearthed him in San Francisco. A gallery owner. Widowed by AIDS but surviving. He wants to meet, Jonathan said, eyes soft. If you do. The flight west was terror wrapped in resolve. SFO's bustle assaulted. But David's cafe in the Castro was oasis. Rainbow flags fluttering, air scented with espresso and patchouli. He was silver-haired now, lines etched deep, but those eyes, Christian's eyes, sparkled with tears. You look just like him, David said, voice breaking over lattes. Stories poured. Elias's fire, their stolen years, the fight for Christian as legacy. He named you Nathaniel for the prophet, hidden but chosen. Betrayal layered on revelation. David had searched, but the sealing order blocked him. They said it was best. For the Hayes legacy. Christian ached. For the father lost, the one found. Hugs lingered, promises exchanged, visits, letters. Back in Chicago, snow falling like absolution, he collapsed into Jonathan's arms. I have two dads. And you. Love deepened, roots intertwining. But conflict brewed back home. Richard's heart attack, mid-January. The hospital reeking of antiseptic and regret. At his bedside, monitors beeping, Richard confessed more. Elias begged us. After David left. Grief, we took you to spare the pain. But the knife. We changed your records. Made you ours. Legally, medically. So no one could take you back. Erased. Again. Rage boiled. Christian storming halls. Jonathan hauling him into a stairwell for a kiss that tasted of fury and fear. Don't let them win, Jonathan growled. You're reclaiming this. Spring thawed the ice but not the chill. Christian dove into therapy, group for queer adoptees where stories mirrored his fractured mirror. Jonathan attended one, holding his hand through tears. Romance flowered. Road trip to Provincetown. Hands linked over gearshift, beaches whispering Elias's ghosts. Nights of passion, bodies slick. Jonathan's moans a symphony against Christian's skin. Yet climax loomed. A family reunion in July. Backyard barbecue under July 4th fireworks. Martha cornered him. We did it out of love, but love felt like chains. You stole my name, my truth. Voices rose, cousins gaping. Richard, frail but fierce. We saved you from hate. Elias died broken. Broken, Christian roared. He died fighting. For me. The fight spilled into street. Jonathan pulling him away as Martha wept. Betrayal's peak. A call from David. Old letters from Martha. Pleading secrecy. Hinting at disownment if Elias's lifestyle surfaced. The family hadn't just hidden. They'd silenced. Heart shattered. Christian fled to Jonathan's. Packing a bag. I need space. Jonathan's eyes, pained. Don't run from us too. The door closed soft, but the slam echoed. Summer waned, city sweltering. Alone in Nana's house, Christian sifted ashes. Elias's journals, found in the attic's depths. Pages of love for David, dreams for Nathaniel. Poems, sketches, a life unlived. Healing trickled, slow as rain. Calls to Jonathan, tentative. I miss you. Visits, coffee turning to caresses, rebuilding brick by brick. Fall returned, leaves aflame. Confrontation's eve, a dinner. Just the four. Christian, Jonathan, Martha, Richard. Words raw. Forgive, Martha begged. Christian paused, Elias's letter in mind. Not yet, but understand? Maybe. Hugs tentative but real. Human, flawed. October's chill seeped through the brownstone's bones, mirroring the frost in Christian's chest as he stood at the window, watching Jonathan pace the sidewalk below. 2 weeks since the family dinner, since the fragile truce that felt more like a ceasefire than peace. Jonathan's texts lit up his phone. Miss your laugh. Coffee? But Christian hesitated, fingers hovering. The journals lay open on the coffee table. Elias's cursive a haunting echo. Today, I held you, my hidden star. David says you're perfect. God, if they only knew the love that birthed him, fierce and forbidden in Reagan's America. He'd gone back to Evanston alone last weekend, rifling through Richard's study while he napped. More skeletons. A locked drawer yielding clinic notes. Elias's hand scrawled across margins. Surrogacy viable. David excited. But family, they'll never accept. Accept a son from 2 men? In 1997, when Lawrence versus Texas was years away, when Matthew Shepard's murder still bled fresh. No. So they'd plotted the erasure. Richard and Martha, guardians of the Hayes facade, rewriting history with ink and lies. Betrayal wasn't just the name change. It was the void. No stories of baby Nathaniel's first steps. No photos beyond the trunk stash. Christian had grown up idolizing Grandpa Elias as the kindly doc who slipped him quarters for gumballs, not the father who'd bartered his legacy for his child's safety. And David Warm, Rye David in San Francisco, now a weekly Zoom, sharing Elias's recipes for bouillabaisse, his love for Gershwin. But each call unearthed more ache. He wanted to tell you, on your 18th. But Richard, he warned of scandal. Scandal. The word soured Christian's tongue. He was the scandal, gay like Elias, like the partner he'd loved and lost to the epidemic that claimed so many. Jonathan knew that part intimately. Their nights together were testaments to it, bodies entwined in defiance. Jonathan's whispers of "you're safe, a balm on wounds." But space? It was cowardice, Christian admitted now, staring at the phone. He dialed before doubt could claw back. They met at a quiet spot in Andersonville, the neighborhood's queer heart with its bookstores and bakeries smelling of cinnamon and possibility. Jonathan arrived windswept, scarf loose around his neck, that crooked smile faltering at Christian's haggard face. "You look like hell," he said, but pulled him into a hug fierce enough to crack ribs. Over flat whites, words tumbled. The journal's revelations, the simmering rage at Richard's protection, the terror that love, any love, came laced with loss. Jonathan listened, hand tracing circles on Christian's knuckles. "You're angry. Good. Means you're alive." His eyes, hazel and steady, held storms of his own. "My dad? Found out I was gay via a letter I never sent. Burned my books, called me abomination. I left at 19. Haven't looked back." Vulnerability raw as an open vein. Christian's throat tightened. "How do you forgive?" "You don't. You build around it." Jonathan's kiss was soft, sealing the pact. That night, back in the brownstone, they made love slow and deliberate, candlelight flickering over skin marked by time. Christian's tattoo from a rebellious college phase, Jonathan's scars from a bar fight in his PI days. Afterward, tangled in sheets, Jonathan murmured, "Move in with me. For real. Let's make our own history." The offer hung, a lifeline. Christian took it, boxes packed by week's end, the attic's ghosts left behind. Life settled into rhythm. Mornings with Jonathan's coffee, strong and black. Evenings walking Bucktown streets, hands linked unashamed. Work flourished. Christian's designs landed a gig with a local LGBTQ+ nonprofit, posters of intertwined hands against sunset skies. Jonathan's cases, gritty missing persons hunts, bled into dinner tales, his laugh chasing shadows. But family tendrils pulled. Thanksgiving loomed, Martha's emails pleading, "Please, Christian." Richard's weaker. He went, Jonathan in tow. My partner, he introduced, chin lifted. The table strained under turkey and tension, Aunt's sidelong glances like arrows. Richard, gaunt in his sweater, raised a glass. To truths, and to Elias. Toasts clinked, awkward but earnest. Later, in the den, Richard handed over a locket, Elias's, engraved in H. He'd want you to have it. Tears welled, forgiveness's first bloom. Martha hugged Jonathan, whispering, "Thank you for bringing him back." Outside, snow dusting the lawn, Christian kissed Jonathan under street lamps. "I love you," he said, words solid as the ring he imagined someday. Jonathan grinned, snowflakes in his lashes. About damn time. Winter deepened, holidays a whirlwind. Hanukkah lax at Jonathan's sister's, accepting, loud, everything his wasn't. Christmas with David via video, his tree twinkling behind. New Year's in Boys Town, confetti and countdowns blurring into dawn. Their bodies a promise kept. But under the joy, conflict simmered. A letter from a Hayes cousin, anonymous. Knew about Elias. Shame you dragged it up. Families ruined. Poison pen, stirring old doubts. Christian burned it, but embers lingered. February brought storm. Richard's decline accelerated. Chemo for undetected cancer. Hospital vigils, Martha's hand in Christian's, stories shared. Elias's youth, pranks with Richard. the brotherly bond that bent but didn't break under secrecy. He made us promise, Richard rasped one night, monitors beeping. Protect the boy, no matter. Christian squeezed his hand. You did. In your way. Death came quiet. March equinox. Richard slipping away with Martha's hymn on lips. Funeral packed the church. Colleagues, neighbors, oblivious to undercurrents. Eulogy duty fell to Christian. He was a man of silences, but his love roared. Afterward, at the graveside, wind whipping Lake Michigan's chill, he placed Elias's locket beside the urn. Rest together. Grief bound them tighter. Jonathan's arms a fortress through nights of sobs. Spring unfurled tentative. Tulips in Grant Park. Picnics where Jonathan proposed properly, on one knee amid cherry blossoms. Marry me, Christian Hayes or Nathaniel, or whoever the hell you want to be. Ring simple, silver band etched with intertwined ends. Yes, breathless and sure. Wedding plans danced. Small Castro-Chicago hybrid, David officiating. But betrayal's echo resurfaced in summer heat. A box from Richard's estate. Legal docs, the adoption decree, and a codicil. To Christian. Full inheritance, on condition of name change back to Nathaniel. For Elias's honor. Martha, tearful. His last wish, to reclaim. Rage reignited. Honor? By forcing me? Jonathan fumed beside him. Screw that. It's control. Confrontation at Martha's. Voices shattering china calm. Dad's dead. But his ghost chains us. Martha collapsed, sobbing. We failed you. Elias too. Truth cracked wide. The ceiling wasn't just protection. Richard, deep down, feared the gay taint, the scandal spilling to boardrooms. He'd pushed the rename, buried deeper than needed. Betrayal's zenith. Christian, heart-pounding, drafted the lawsuit, challenged the will, exposed the manipulations. Jonathan warned, this torches bridges, but fire, purified. Court date set for fall, headlines whispering Hayes air fights phantom father. Amid legal whirl, love anchored. Honeymoon teas. Weekend in Saugatuck, dunes and dunes walks. Jonathan's body sun-kissed. Their union a sacrament against storms. Whatever comes, Jonathan vowed, sand in his hair. We face it. Climax brewed as leaves turned. Courtrooms looming like guillotines. Christian stood taller. Identity no longer hidden but claimed. Gay, son of Elias, lover of Jonathan. But the trial's shadow lengthened, promising rupture or rebirth. The courtroom in downtown Chicago smelled of polished oak and stale ambition. Sunlight slanting through high windows like judgmental fingers. Christian sat ramrod straight in the gallery, Jonathan's hand a secret anchor under the bench as the judge. A stern woman with silver hair and eyes like Lake Superior, banged her gavel. Hayes versus Hayes estate. The irony bit deep, family pitted against phantom. Martha, opposite, looked shrunken in her navy suit, eyes red-rimmed, avoiding his gaze. David had flown in, a quiet pillar in the back row. His presence a nod to the man who'd started it all. It was a probate hearing, not a circus trial, but the air crackled. Christian's lawyer, a sharp-dressed dyke from Lambda Legal, laid out the petition. Contest the codicil as coercive, rooted in discriminatory intent against his queer heritage. The decedent sought to impose identity on the plaintiff, echoing a lifetime of suppression. Gasps rippled, cousins in attendance, whispers like vipers. The estate's counsel, a slick loop firm, countered, a loving father's wish to honor his brother's legacy. No malice. Evidence mounted like a house of cards. The adoption decree yellowed. Elias's journals entered as exhibits, pages dog-eared with love letters to David. My Nathaniel, born of U.S. May he never hide. The courtroom hushed as Christian took the stand, voice steady despite the quake in his knees. They renamed me to erase him, to make me safe, straight, but safe isn't alive. Questions probed. Did you know? Feel harmed? He met the lawyer's eyes. Every holiday toast to Grandpa, every story of his bachelor life. It was a lie I lived. Betrayal isn't the hiding. It's the silence after. Jonathan's grip tightened, pride radiating like heat. Cross-examination turned ugly. Isn't this greed? The inheritance's millions. Christian's laugh was sharp. Money? I'd trade it for one photo of me as a baby in his arms. The gallery murmured, Martha's sob cutting through. Recess brought chaos. Reporters outside, flashes popping like gunfire. Eris's gay son sues dead dad over name change. Jonathan shielded him, arm around waist, growling at a lens too close. Back off, assholes. In the holding room, David hugged him fierce. Elias would be proud. Loud, like he dreamed. Lunch was vending machine crap, but Jonathan made it feast, feeding Christian pretzels with kisses that tasted of salt and solidarity. Afternoon dragged. Martha's testimony, voice quavering. Richard. He loved Christian. But Elias's death broke him. The AIDS, the rumors at church. He thought renaming protected the boy from that hate. Tears streamed. We all did. Under oath, the crack. Richard insisted on the codicil. Last week. Make him whole, he said. But I see now. It was his guilt, not love. The lawyer pounced. Guilt for what? Martha's whisper. For burying Elias deeper than dirt. For making Christian pay. Gasps echoed. The judge adjourned, ruling pending briefs. Outside, storm clouds gathered, mirroring the tumult. Christian and Jonathan fled to the lakefront, wind whipping waves to froth. You were brilliant, Jonathan said, pulling him down to the grass, bodies shielding from rain. Their kiss deepened, urgent, hands roaming under damp shirts, a reclaiming amid chaos. Marry me tomorrow, Christian gasped, half serious. Jonathan chuckled, breath hot. Court first, vows after. Weeks blurred. Briefs filed. Media frenzy peaking with a Windy City Times profile. The hidden son. One man's fight for his name. Support poured, letters from queer kids, donations to the nonprofit. Backlash 2. Hayes' relatives disowning, church friends ghosting Martha. She called nightly, voice hollow. I'm losing them all. Because of us. Christian's heart twisted. Not us, Mom. The lies. David stayed, crashing on the couch, evenings filled with stories. Elias's first pride in '79. Marching with fists raised. Their surrogacy battle, lawyers sneering unnatural. He won, David said, eyes distant. For you. Bonding deepened. Father-son in all but blood. Jonathan fit seamless, teasing David over bad coffee. The three a makeshift family. Ruling day dawned gray, October's bite sharpening. Court packed, tension thick as fog. Judge's voice boomed. The codicil is invalidated. Coercive. Discriminatory. Cheers stifled, but Christian's exhale shook. Inheritance intact, no irrelevant. Victory was the name. Nathaniel Elias Hayes. Affirmed in record. Duel if you choose. The judge added a rare kindness. Christian nodded, tears blurring. Martha approached post-hearing, tentative. Proud of you. Hug lingered. Forgiveness's full bloom. I'm sorry. For all. Over dinner that night. Italian in Little Italy. Candles flickering. The family mended. Stories of Elias unfiltered. Toasts to Richard's flawed heart. Laughter crept. Healing's first green shoot. November swept in, wedding fever. Venue. A loft in Pilsen, murals vibrant as their love. Vows handwritten. Christian's voice cracking. You saw me, all names, all shadows. I choose you. Jonathan's. From investigator to husband, you've been my greatest case. Solved. Rings exchanged. David's blessing. Like your father's, love without apology. Dance floor pulsed. Sweet Caroline for Elias. Born this way for them. Bodies swaying. Jonathan's hand low on Christian's back. Promise eternal. Honeymoon in Provincetown. Off-season hush. Beaches empty. Dunes whispering secrets. They walked Elias's sands, hand in hand, scattering locket ashes to the tide. Nights tangled. Jonathan's touch worshipful. Moans mingling with ocean roar. Our legacy, Christian murmured, fingers tracing Jonathan's jaw. Mornings lazy, coffee on decks, planning futures. Adoption maybe. A home in the burbs with queer neighbors. Back home, life bloomed. Christian, Nathaniel in quiet moments, launched a foundation. Elias's Echo, aiding queer families with surrogacy legal aid. Jonathan cut PI hours, joining as director, their partnership bleeding work and home. Martha visited, baking pies, eyes soft on their joined hands. David too, winters in Chicago, springs in the Castro. But humanism's thread wove deeper. A call from the anonymous cousin, contrite. Saw the article. Sorry. Invite us to dinner. Forgiveness extended. Bridges rebuilt. Pride 2026. Marching together. Rainbow flags high. Christian sign. Hidden no more. Yet romance's fire never dimmed. Anniversaries marked with rooftop toasts. Brooklyn rooftops overlooking the city that birthed their storm. One night, under stars smudged by light pollution, Jonathan knelt again. This time with papers. Adopt with me? Christian's yes was a sob, joy unbound. Years folded. Son arrived, little Elias Nathaniel. Curls like David's, eyes like Elias's. Family picnics. Laughter echoing old wounds scarred over. Christian wrote the book, erased names, bestseller in queer lit circles, proceeds to the foundation. Jonathan's foreword. He found himself in me. We found us. Climax's echo faded, replaced by quiet drama. Arguments over diaper duty, makeup sex fierce as first nights. Betrayal's scar? A reminder, not chain. Human, all of it. Flawed loves, hidden sons reclaimed. The adoption hearing was a footnote to the saga, but no less seismic. A sun-drenched morning in the same Cook County courtroom. Judge smiling as little Elias Nathaniel gurgled in Christian's arms. 2 years post-wedding, the boy was 3, all dimples and destruction. His laughter a melody over the legal drone. Jonathan signed last, hands steady, eyes misting as the gavel fell. Reeveshays. Hyphenated, a bridge of names. Outside, David snapped photos, Martha beaming beside, the family whole in fractured glory. Life post-victory settled into American Dream's queer remix. The Wicker Park walk-up traded for a Lincoln Park row house. Backyard for Elias Jr.'s kiddie pool. Christian's designs evolved. Advocacy graphics for HRC campaigns. Bold lines echoing his own reclamation. Jonathan balanced cases with dad duty. His PI grit softened by bedtime stories of 2 dads and a hidden prince. Romance endured, evolved. Date nights at jazz clubs in the South Loop. Stolen kisses in alleyways. Bodies familiar but electric. Jonathan's growl against Christian's neck a constant mine. Elias Jr.'s questions came early. Innocent barbs. Why grandpa in pictures but not here? Bedtime truths. Age appropriate. He loved big. Like us. Watched from stars. David visited often. Papa Dave with tales of beaches and boats. His gallery sending queer art for the nursery walls. Martha, graying gracefully, hosted Sundays. Roasts and recriminations faded, replaced by board games where she trounced Jonathan at Scrabble. But drama lingered, subtle tides. A New Yorker profile on the foundation unearthed fresh ghosts. A former Hayes associate, bitter, leaking Richard's old emails. Homophobic slurs, pleased to cure Elias. Headlines screamed legacy of hate. Protests at fundraisers, donors fleeing. Christian's phone rang off hook. Rage a familiar burn. They win again, he muttered, pacing the kitchen, Elias Jr. napping upstairs. Jonathan blocked him, hands on shoulders. No, we fight smarter. Strategy session over wine. Pivot to education. Panels on intergenerational trauma. David moderated the first. Castro zoomed to Chicago. His voice steady. Hates the ghost. Loves the exorcism. Turnout swelled. Stories shared. Survivors of conversion camps. Kids like Christian hidden in plain sight. The backlash boomeranged. Donations doubling. The foundation's reach to rural clinics, where queer families fought surrogacy bans. Personal storms brewed too. Jonathan's case collided with home. A missing teen, gay runaway from Indiana, mirroring his youth. Sleepless nights, stakeouts bleeding into dawn. Christian holding vigil with coffee and worry. Resolution came brutal. Kid found, safe but scarred. Family reuniting under court order. Jonathan collapsed home, shattered. I see me in him. The fear. Christian held him through sobs. Their bed a sanctuary. Bodies joining slow. Healing thrusts a language beyond words. Anniversary 5. Surprise trip to D.C., cherry blossoms peak. Monuments loomed, Lincoln stern, Jefferson flawed, mirrors to Hayes' history. At the AIDS quilt panel, Elias's square displayed. Fabrics of rainbows and stethoscopes, David's embroidery. Kneeling there, tears silent, Christian whispered, "Thank you." Jonathan beside, arm linked. For what? Everything. The hiding, the finding, led to this. Back, conflict-crested domestic. Elias Junior School. Progressive but whispers of two dads, drawing side eyes from helicopter parents. PDA meeting turned ambush. Is it safe for our kids? Christian's retort. Calm fire. Safer than lies. Backlash emails, but allies rose. Queer parents uniting. Bake sales funding sensitivity training. Human win, small but seismic. Summer solstice brought bicoastal family. David and partner relocating partial. Gallery outpost in Logan Square. Barbecue in the yard, grill smoke curling. Stories overlapping. Elias's 80s activism. Jonathan's hidden high school crushes. Elias Jr. chased fireflies, oblivious to depths. Night fell, stars pricking velvet sky. Christian and Jonathan on the porch swing. Son's head pillowed on laps. This, Christian said, voice thick, is the legacy. Fall harvested bounty. Book tour for erased names. Sold-out readings from Seattle to Miami. Q&A in Provincetown. Beachfront auditorium. How'd you forgive? A young man, eyes wide. Christian paused, Jonathan's hand in his. Forgiveness isn't erasure. It's addition, layering truth over pain. Applause thundered, waves crashing approval. Winter's hush. Holidays blended. Thanksgiving turkey with David's lax. Christmas tree topped by Elias's locket. New Year's quiet. Just 4 vows renewed by candlelight. Rings kissed. To hidden suns, Jonathan toasted. And found loves. Spring 2030. Elias Jr. starts kindergarten. Backpack slung. Waving from the gate. Christian walks home. Jonathan's arm around waist. City alive with possibility. Foundation expands, national scholarships for queer youth. Media shifts. From shadows to spotlight docuseries. Oscar buzz. Yet romance's core burned steady. Stolen weekends to Saugatuck. Dunes eternal. One evening. Sunset painting sky crimson. Jonathan pulls him down. Sand warm. Another? He asks, eyes twinkling, kid too, maybe girl. Christian laughs, yes on lips. Body arching into his. Love, dramatic still. Fights over chores flaring to passion. Apologies whispered skin to skin. Climax long past. Life's plot twisted gentle. Martha's 60th. Surprise party. Toasts to endurance. David's 90th. Gallery retrospective. Elias's portraits glowing. Losses too. Martha's quiet passing. Cancer's thief, her letter. You were my son, always. Proud. Grief shared. Jonathan's shoulder wet with tears. Decade's end. Elias Jr. Teen now. Out as by. First crush awkward and sweet. Family meeting, hugs all around. Christian watches, heart full. From hidden to hearth. Epilogue whispers. Gray at temples. Jonathan's stubble silver. But kisses fierce. Rocking chair evenings. Book in lap. Erased names dog-eared. Worth the storm. Jonathan asks, hand in his. Christian smiles, sunset gilding them. Every thunderclap. Human arc complete. Not tragedy, but triumph laced with ache. American as apple pie and pride flags. Flawed, fierce, forever. In the end, the family hadn't just hidden a son. They'd birthed one anew. And he shone.